stop running your test just by file name. There is a much more powerful way. Imagine telling PyTest, run all my API and smoke tests, but not the ones marked slow. That's not just a fantasy, that's exactly what PyTest Markers will let you do. In the next few minutes, you're going to learn how to do it perfectly. If you're coming from other frameworks like robot framework, this is the same concept as tagging. But in PyTest, there are some built-in tags or markers, and there are some custom markers. And the power really is in the custom markers, and we're going to talk all about that. So the framework that I'm going to use in this example is in GitHub, and I have the link for you in the description. And there's a lot of content here, a lot of tutorial in this framework or in this repository. So there is a menu right here. For this video, I'm going over the markers for organization and selection, this area here. Okay, so use this as a reference. So for this video, we are going to spend most of the time in the code itself. So I have the code here in VS Code. I have a virtual environment activated in PyTest installed. So the example I'm going to use is this test my account test file. It's under tests, front end, and test my account. So I have a few tests in here. We're going to demo the different concepts. So first, let's look at the built-in markers, even though the power is actually in the custom ones, but it's good to know the built-in ones. So we have skip if, we have xfail, and we have skip. So now let's start with the skip one. The skip one is basically just going to skip it. If you have a marker on a test, so now this test here, we have a lot of decorators on top of it. Those are for different things. For example, I have a video coming up about alert reports. We're going to talk about those. The way you add a marker to a test file or a test function is just add pytest.mark.skip. If I was to create a new test here, if I say def test underscore just example, right, and pass, it's not going to do anything. If I want to add a marker to this, it's going to be add pytest. So pytest needs to be imported. I have it imported here, dot mark dot the name of the marker. There's few markers. These are the ones here. In fact, the VS Code will give you a suggestion, and these are the ones: skip if, and on things like that. But the custom ones, we can say whatever we want, and we're going to see how we use them. But I just want to show you this is how you add it. Just on top of it, a decorator. So when we look at this skip guy here, this skip decorator is added to this function. So now if we try to run this function, since we have the skip, it's not going to run it. So here I'm going to copy the name. I'm going to do pytest-k, the name of the function. If I hit enter, it's just going to say one skip. We found 42 total tests, and 41 of them were deselected. One was selected because we told it exactly which one to run, but then it skipped it. So that's really how you want to skip it. If you know the test is going to fail and you just don't want it to run, you might have a lot of reasons where you don't want the test to run at all, then you can put skip instead of like deleting it, or you know you want to delete it but it's going to come back, so you don't want to delete it. So you can just add a skip. It's going to be skipped. It's not going to be part of the report. It's not going to affect your numbers. Okay, so you see a bunch of warnings here. We're going to come back about that. That's because of the custom markers. So that's one, the skip one. Another one, let's look at the skip if, because they're related. We'll come back to xfail. Skip if is you actually give it a condition, some kind of condition that you don't want to run. Let's say you have a test that you want to run only on a Mac. You have a test you want to run only on a Windows. You can give it a condition saying, hey, only run it if this condition is true. So in this case, I used an example saying if sys version info, so this is a Python version, if it's greater than 3.7, skip it. I'm using 3.13. Let me do clear this python-v. As you can see, I'm using 3.13. So if I say if this is greater than 3.7, don't run it. So if I try to run that, if I say pytest-k, the name is going to skip it again. Let me clear that. Let's say I change the condition 3.14, right? That doesn't exist yet. So now it's not going to skip it, it's going to run it. If I try to run it, there you go, it is running. We see the browser open and the test is actually running and passing. So skip if is when you actually give it a condition. The last one that we're going to look at for the built-in ones is xfail. Xfail is basically just telling it, hey, it is expected to fail. So you'll get a reminder later on to fix it. Let's say you find a bug, you report that bug, you know it's going to fail until the bug is fixed. So you can just go ahead and mark it as xfail until the bug is fixed. So your report remains clean, and then you'll use it as a reminder to go and update it, right? Like let's say a week later, you look at your report, you're going to see xfail. It actually will show up on a report, but it's going to be its own thing. Then you're going to see, oh, there is an xfail. Was this thing fixed? Then you're going to follow up and you're going to actually come back and remove it if it's already fixed. And then it takes a parameter for the reason. Now let's run it again. So what we're going to do is, it will run it though. That's the difference between why you might be thinking, why wouldn't skip it? It won't skip it. It would run it, but it won't mark it as a failure. It's going to mark it as an xfail. And if it passes, it's going to mark it as an xpass. So what happens is that's actually a good reminder to go and clean it up. That means it is fixed. You're going to mark it as an xfail. For the first day, second day, it's going to fail as an xfail. Then the developers check in the fix. Now all of a sudden in your report, it shows up as an xpass. You were expected to fail, but it's passing now. That means it is fixed. So you can go and clean it up. So it will run it unlike the skip ones. So let's try that. I'm going to do a clear. I'm going to do pytest-k. And I'm going to put that function, well, that test. I'm expecting it to pass, so it's going to show up as xpass, right? 41 deselected. Let's see. Did I get the right one? This is xfail. Test my account title. That I'm actually surprised. Test my account. Oh, it says xpassed. Oops. Yeah, it was totally right. Xpassed here. I don't know what I was looking at. So 41 deselected, 1 xpassed. If we make it fail, let's say I'm going to make it fail on purpose. I'm going to say assert 1 is 0, right? That's not going to pass. That will never pass, right? So I'm going to run the test. Now it should show up as x failed because it is expected to fail. So those are the built-in markers. Now, how about custom markers? Let's look at this one here. Well, let's see if there is one without any marker here. Well, none of those. Let's go to a login test. Let's look at this login test. Now, what I want to do is I want to add my test case IDs to that. Normally, you document your test cases in some kind of tool, right? You might be like TestRail or TestLink or case.io, or there's one that I'm building right now, which is or even a spreadsheet, right? Which is where you basically store your test cases and you have IDs for each of those test cases. And a lot of times you want to synchronize your automation with your test cases because you might have some advanced workflows. You just want to connect the reports to the test runs. And you want to have some kind of way for your test case management system to talk to your automation and vice versa. So you want to take each of the test case and you want to add an ID to it, right? So markers is the best way to do that. In other frameworks, this will be a tag. If you're in robot framework, this will be a tag. If you're in BDD behave, this will also be a tag. So now I have this test with an ID of 6, and I want to add that ID to my markers, to my test. So what I do is pytest mark test case ID 6, whatever it is. It doesn't take any special characters. You cannot do this. Another custom one that's often we add is smoke or regression. For example, this is a login test. I want to add a smoke. I can say pytest.mark.smoke, right? That's very, very common that you're going to add smoke and regression. So now when you add this, it will work, but you get a lot of this warnings. You register custom markers, pytest unknown marking. So let's talk about the smoke and regression first. Now, if I run a test, let's say I want to run this test case ID 6, or I want to run smoke. There might be more than one smoke. I'm gonna let me clear this. I'm going to say pytest -m. So when you want to specify a specific custom marker, you're going to do -m. Remember we did -k when we want to run it by the name, either partial name or file name or function name. We did pytest -k and some kind of word, login or something, right? Which will match it. But if you want to do by marker, -m, m for marker. And let's say I do smoke. In this case, I don't want to run it, so I'm going to do collect only, -- collect only. If you add this collect only flag, it will go and find the test. It will collect test, but it won't run it. So we'll just save us time. We don't have to see the browser open and everything. So I'm going to hit enter. It's going to say, hey, I found 2 out of the 42. There are 42 total tests, and 2 of them match the smoke ID that you wanted, the smoke marker that you wanted. Let's run the same test. Instead of smoke, let's say I want to do test case test ID 6. Again, that should only match 1, right? pytest -m tcid1, especially an ID. In fact, there is something weird. That means there are 2 tests with this ID. So let's actually search it. Something wrong with my framework. There is a login one, and then the my account one that has, okay, so the login test has this valid credentials. This has this valid credentials. I'm going to comment this out for now. Looks like I need to fix the duplication here. So let me clear this and run it again, right? Real life recording. So 1 test found. But now, because of the custom things, we see that you have to register these markers. You have to register them. So we need to register them so we don't get these errors. Now, how do you register it? It's not going to work very well for us, but let me show you. So you normally would have this pytest.ini in the root of your project. This is the root of my project. This is where I'm going to execute the command from. I'm in that folder when I'm running the command. There are two very special files. There's a pytest.ini and conftest.py. Conftest.ini or pytest.ini is where we have configurations. So you're going to add this directive here, markers, and you're going to just list out the IDs or markers that you want the framework to know, so you don't get this warning. So now if we put smoke, we will register the smoke, so smoke is not triggering this. If we were to look at all the warnings we got here, smoke is not going to be one of them. Everything that's triggering it is this test case ID 1, test case ID 2, test case ID 3, right? All of those things. Now you can't register those. That's not reasonable, because you're going to have 100 tests, 500 tests, 1,000 tests. So if you got 1,000 IDs, you're not going to come here and register all 1,000 of them, right? You're not going to do that. So the solution for that, in fact, I just started doing that. I didn't know that. What I did was I basically just ignored the warning instead. So instead of registering it, I said, there's no way I'm going to register all those tags, because I have thousands of tests. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to filter those warnings so it won't show up. So I came here to the config and I added this filter, basically saying, hey, ignore this kind of filters, this PyTest unknown mark warning. So now if I was to run my test again, let me clear the screen and just run the same exact command, no more warnings, right? So you could do that. That's one way to do it. If you want to tag your test like this, you just bring it, take the ID and just tag it there. You can absolutely do that. That is valid. It depends on if you want to do that or not. That's not very professional, because now you're kind of hiding warnings. If you have like tags that you added accidentally, and having the warning would be nice to have. So maybe that's not the way to do it. So the right way to do it is to actually create a new tag. So let's say I'm going to add a new tag. I can put it on top or bottom, doesn't matter the order. At pytest.mark.tcid. So I'm just going to do that. Then this actually can take a parameter. Here you can give it the actual ID. In this case, I'm going to say test ID, or I can take or the project might have like ecom or marketing or whatever the ticket name is, right? So I can do ecom 1. So, and I can put special characters. Usually if you notice the test case management systems like case.io or TestRail, they usually have like some kind of dash in front of the name, project name dash the ID, project name dash the ID. Now if I do this, all I have to do is register tcid. If I register tcid here in PyTest, I'm going to register tcid. So the marker is this guy here. You do colon and you can add a description for it. That's for human, so you can understand what the marker is for. All you really need is just a list of the tags. So here we added tcid, so we're not going to get that warning. Even if I don't have the filter here, and if I run the test, let's say I'm going to run, the thing is though, you're going to have to run tcid. The marker is going to be tcid, right? Now, tcid, if I search for it, it's not going to show up in any of the warnings. It's not going to be there. So that's how you would do it. But then the question is going to be, oh, but I want to run it for a specific ID. What if I want to run a specific ID here? That is going to be the use case, especially when you develop it. In real CI/CD, I mean, the whole point of a test framework is to run it in CI/CD. You don't run it by ID. It's very rare. You're going to run it by like application, like API or front end or back end or my account or homepage, those kind of things. And those kind of things, it's easy to register them, right? There's going to be a handful. If you have like 10, 20, no big deal. You can register them. When you have hundreds, that's when it's not going to make sense. So normally you just have either smoke or regression, and those are the ones you're going to run in CI/CD. When you're developing, you want to run it just by the ID here, the tcid. So this is a little bit out of scope for this video. So I'll create a new video exactly how to do it, but I'm going to give you a little preview. So what you do is, if you just want to run it specifically by the ID, you're going to go into the conftest. Conftest is where you're going to put a lot of configurations or fixtures and things like that. It's one of the most important files in your framework. You're going to go there and you're going to implement something, right? You're going to add a command line option. You're going to do --tcid. This is custom. You can do whatever you want. And you're going to have a function that will basically take that, read the ID and execute it. So in a different video, I'll link it in the description. We'll write this, we'll create this file. But what this will allow us to do is, for example, right now we have this ecom 1, right? So I can do pytest-m as always. Then, I don't even have to do -m actually. Now we're creating a brand new command line argument, --tcid. So we added a brand new command line argument or an option using this conftest. We added this. This function is what it's doing. We added it. But now we do tcid, and we can just give it the ID that we have, ecom dash, including the special character, which I like. If we do that, now it's actually going to go and run that test. So that's a bit of an advanced feature, but a very useful feature, so it deserves its own video. Check me out on that video. So that's all I have for you for markers, either custom markers or built-in markers. It's good to use both. Custom markers are a must. You always have to tag something, a regression or smoke. The way I do things, pretty much every test is a regression, but some tests are smoke. So I'll go and tag some tests as smoke. There are use cases that I use xfail more than skip. I don't use skip that much. I normally just comment it out or something like that, but the feature is there. It's a professional tool, so I want you to know that it exists and that you can use it. All right. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. You learned something about PyTest. I'm creating a series of PyTest videos, several videos related to PyTest. Check me out. Make sure you subscribe and make sure you check out my website, supersqa.com. I teach QA automation as debt, more as debt than anything else. I help you become an engineer. I help you become a software engineer in test. I have courses, I have membership, I have one-on-one mentorship. If you just want to work with me directly one-on-one, we can do that. I have a great program for you. I have a free course for starters, like manual stuff and just the basics. So check out my website. And if you have any questions, I'm always accessible. You can contact me through the website. So I'll see you on the next video. So check out the next video on the PyTest. It's going to be either parameterized right here on the right, and more about this command line argument on the left side. So click one of those two and let's continue learning about PyTest.